And Allah says, for my prophets, there's no room for the fear of people, especially when it comes to legislation. Not only what I commanded you to do, also what I permitted you to do. Both. The things I made halal, you have to stand by them with your chest out. No consideration of people's feelings. The things I made haram, no fear of anyone other than Allah. In the next ayah, الَّذِينَ يُبَلِّغُونَ رِسَالَاتِ اللَّهِ وَيَخْشَوْنَهُ وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ أَحَدًا إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. What a beautiful ayah, ayah 39. There are three pieces to this ayah. Just if you want to understand this ayah beautifully, three pieces to this ayah. First piece, the prophets who deliver the messages of Allah. I want you to understand how this is connected to the previous ayah. Listen carefully. We saw in the previous ayah, when Allah was ending that ayah, Allah said, Sunnat Allah, where did it go? Yeah, here we go. Sunnat Allahi fil ladhina khalaw min qabl. This is the way Allah has always done things with those who came a long time ago. What did Allah do? مَا كَانَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ مِنْ حَرَجٍ فِي مَا فَرَضَ اللَّهُ لَهُ. There's no haraj. Haraj means three things. Let me quiz you. What does haraj mean? Three things. The last one was sinful. What was the first two? Discomfort, difficulty, sin. There's no sin on the Prophet. The Prophet should feel no discomfort, and no one should make things difficult for him. No one should have a comment to make things difficult for him or his family. In whatever Allah has mandated for him, and whatever Allah has made permissible for him, and this standing for what Allah has revealed without any hesitation, without any haraj, internal, cultural, or divine, all three, has always been the case for those who came, all the prophets who came a long time ago, and Allah has always had this perfect decree. Who are those prophets? So I'm going to read it again. Sunnat Allahi fil ladhina yuballighuna risalati Allahi wa yakhshawna. This is badal. This is the sunnah of Allah, of those who communicated the messages of Allah and feared Him and didn't fear anyone except Allah, and Allah is enough to take full account. In other words, الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِ is now being replaced with الَّذِينَ يُبَلِّغُونَ رِسَالَاتِ اللَّهِ وَيَخْشَوْنَهُ وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ أَحَدًا إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. The ayat are stitched together. Okay, now that you understand that. Three components. The first component is they deliver Allah's revelations. They thoroughly deliver Allah's revelations. And tabligh is the act of making sure it's communicated clearly. That's why we get balagha from it. And the word balagha is actually, Allah says to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, قُلْ لَهُمْ فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ قَوْلًا بَلِيغًا. Say something to them that reaches deep inside their hearts. The science of balagha, it's called balagha because when you communicate in a way that penetrates the barriers of someone's psychological walls and their aggression towards you, and you're able to get to their heart and impact them with your speech. So you found a way to penetrate into their heart. Because getting to someone's ears is easy. Anybody can get to your ears. But you can listen to someone and be annoyed. How do you speak to someone and instead of them being annoyed with you, they're impacted by what you're saying in the way that you wanted them to be impacted? That's balagha. That's balagha. يُبَلِّغُونَ رِسَالَاتِ اللَّهِ. The messengers who have to communicate in a way that deeply reaches, these messages reach into the hearts. That's first component. And these messages are directly from Allah. By the way, the Prophet's words are a message. And the Prophet's actions also send a message, yes or no? Him getting married, for example, in this case, did it send a message? Him declaring Zayd not his son anymore, does that send a message? Yeah, that's also a risala. So there's a risala of the words. There's also a risala of, here, this sent a message. Sometimes actions speak louder than words, right? They're also risalat. So they do that clearly. And then the second component is, they fear Allah and don't fear anyone except Allah. They fear Him and don't fear anyone except Allah. By the way, if He said they fear Him, that would have been good enough. But Allah said, no. They fear Him and they don't fear anyone except Allah. He doubled it. يَخْشَوْنَهُ, good enough. وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Why? Because this is a story in which the messenger always feared Allah. But for a brief moment he considered, let me take the path of least resistance where people won't give me a hard time about this situation. And he had, even if it's 99 point endless nines, fear of Allah, there's a 0.0000001% fear of who? People. And Allah says, for my prophets, there's no room for the fear of people, especially when it comes to legislation. Not only what I commanded you to do, also what I permitted you to do. Both. The things I made halal, you have to stand by them with your chest out. No consideration of people's feelings. The things I made haram, no fear of anyone other than Allah. لا يخشون أحدا إلا الله. The way that it's hammered in. يخشونه is obvious. Then on top of that, لا يخشون أحدا إلا الله. And then Allah says, and Allah is enough to take full account. Now look at the beauty of this ayah. 3 components. First component, they deliver the message, which is the responsibility of prophets. We'll call the first component responsibility. The last component is Allah is enough to take account, which means the accountability with Allah. Accountability. And in the middle is the fear only of Allah. Look at how the middle piece is connected to the first piece and the last piece. In other words, you will fulfill this responsibility of delivering the message, and the way you'll truly be able to deliver this message is you purge yourself of any influence from people. You will only have the fear of Allah. That's the way in which you will. That answers the how will you deliver the message. You will deliver it in a way that has no contamination of any fear of people. That's the how. But then the why. Why will you deliver the message in this way? Because Allah is enough to. Allah will be holding you accountable. Allah is going to hold every action, every emotion will be held accountable. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. Why Allah is enough to take account is actually the thing that you should truly fear in the end. Look at something else that's happening here. We saw in the previous ayah, وَكَانَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ قَدْرًا مَقْدُورًا. Qadr means calculation. Qadr means measure. Now we see another word for measurement. What's the word for measurement here? Hasib. Why these 2 different words? What could we learn from that? That previous ayah was about Allah's rules. When will He deliver a rule? How many women can the Prophet marry? How many women can Muslims marry in general? Why is he marrying the Prophet ﷺ to this woman, and at what point and in what way? All of that is exactly calculated. Qadran maqdura. That's about the laws and legislations. فِيمَا فَرَضَ اللَّهُ لَهُ. Okay. This ayah is not about that. This ayah is, in what way will when they deliver it, was there any element of fear? And was there any element of intimidation from people? Did that factor into what they were going to say at all? And Allah will keep exact calculation, not just of what they did, but what their hearts felt as they did it. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ حَسِيبًا. Like the hisab of Allah is not just on the actions, it's what's going on inside the hearts here, the khashya of Allah alone in the hearts. This is one of the most powerful messages for us, because the last of the messengers is Rasulullah ﷺ. So the job of delivering the message was passed on to the ummah. Right? The job that used to be done by individual messengers was then passed on to the last ummah, us. Right? So he was made shaheed over humanity, right? But we have made لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. Then he made us witness over humanity. So you know what? The way I talk about my book, this book Allah has given, the way I talk about the religion Allah has given, there's going to be a concern when I open my mouth. Hey, if I talk about this ayah, some people are going to be very upset. Maybe I shouldn't talk about this ayah. Maybe I should skip this part. Maybe I should talk about it and talk about A, B, and C, but the findings that I have, D, E, and F, they're going to go viral and everybody's going to have a problem with it. I should just shut up about it. Save myself the trouble. Don't get myself canceled. I can take the safe road and nobody will know. People don't know any better. So they're going to say, MashaAllah, what a good lecture. MashaAllah, what a good halaqah. And I save myself a bunch of trouble by kind of avoiding a subject that I knew would just press people the wrong way. That could never happen, right? I mean, anybody who talks about Islam would only talk about it in a way that's fearless. They get up on the minbar and they're going to give a khutbah, and if they have something to say, then they won't consider that the biggest donor of the masjid might get offended, or the sisters in the audience might get really angry. or the board might get really upset, or the youth might not like it, or the parents might not like it, or the elders might not like it, or there's a governor visiting the masjid. I don't care if there's a governor here. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna say exactly what needs to be said, because those who deliver the messages of Allah fear Allah and don't fear anyone except Allah, right? Hey guys, you just watched a short clip from this surah. What I want you to do now is go through the entire surah with me. It's called the Deeper Look series, and you can catch it on bayinatv.com under the Deeper Look section. So get started.